Hello, my name is Dr. Jamie Mathias, Executive Director of MASBA, the Mexican American School Boards Association. This year, we're celebrating our Golden Jubilee, 50 years of closing gaps in our Texas public schools. Thank you for joining us for this webinar, which is co-sponsored by Empowerment Works. Please check them out on the internet. It's my great pleasure to introduce our speaker today. You know her from our annual MASBA conference in February. She's known for empowering school district personnel and leaders throughout the nation. She currently serves as CEO of Empowerment Works. Welcome, Marisa Rivera.
Well, good afternoon, Dr. Matias. Good afternoon, everyone who has joined us. Thank you for taking time. And I always say this is time for yourself. The time that you take for these webinars, it's a gift to yourself. So I'm glad that you're joining us. I want to, of course, thank Dr. Matias and Vicente for helping me with the technical difficulties or technical assistance. Of course, thank you to MASBA first for inviting me to your wonderful conference. I had such a fantastic time and opportunity to discuss really purposeful things and together enjoying it with the students that you brought in. Those mariachis were out of this world. So thank you so much for having me and be able to talk about courageous leadership. And today we're going to talk about that, about leadership in times of crisis. And of course, it's going to be all kind of tiered up with what we're living nowadays, which is truly a crisis. It's definitely an economic crisis. It's a health crisis. It's really reaching the gaps. I wanted to actually thank you, Dr. Matias. This book is wonderful. Viva la lucha. And as I was preparing for today, I said, you know, Viva la lucha, we're still luchando, because I see the gaps in this specific crisis just growing exponentially. And unfortunately, it is the school districts and our communities that are being hit the most. And it is imperative that we step up and continue the lucha. So thank you again for having me. I also want to thank Consuelo Castillo Kickbush, Lieutenant Consuelo Castillo Kickbush, who actually introduced me to Dr. Matias and with MASBA. And so that partnership, you know, working together has been a great benefit for all of us. So as we change the world, and you have celebrated 50 years. And I was thinking, wow, 50 years since, you know, the civil rights movement, fighting for educational rights, giving a voice to our communities, closing the gaps. And now I'm thinking, now that the schools are closed, now is technology. So working with other school districts, I see the issues of the technology and the big gaps that are happening in our school systems. So again, la lucha continúa. We need to continue. And it is through our leadership that that's going to continue. So again, muchísimas gracias, MASBA, for 50 years of outstanding work. I know that you're also awarding 250 scholarships. Congratulations to those students, and also to all of you who are giving and doing fundraisers to make sure that there's money for students to continue their education. So today, my goal is really to talk about leadership during a crisis. And I always say in every crisis, there's an opportunity. So my goal today is to think about, okay, we are in the middle of a crisis, but where are we going to find those opportunities within our leadership, within our districts, within our communities? Because I know we have people for superintendents, we have principals, we have CEOs, we have people from all gamuts. So thank you for being with us, and we'll talk about your own personal leadership. We're going to talk about human responses to change cycle, because again, that's part of the crisis and how we as leaders address those. I'm going to go over very briefly an empowerment model that helps me as a leader and also many other leaders visualize what they want, especially in the middle of a crisis when you have to, the problem solving immediately. But this model will actually help us think and say, well, if we really had all the opportunities to change something, what would that look like? And perhaps rather than just focusing on what's the problem, and say, let's visualize how great it could be. And that's the opportunity. And we're also going to be talking about building partnerships, because in these moments, the crisis is big. When people are not getting paychecks, when the economy it's not good, and you know, people are scared and fearful about the unknown. They don't know what's going to happen. So all of those fears are part of how we can do better within our school system, our districts, our communities, to make sure that we serve the people that we want to serve. So I want to start with saying, in life, we have always two choices: be part of the solution or be part of the problem. So I'm asking you, which one are you? Because sometimes as leaders, we tend to perhaps go against others, or perhaps not use our leadership skills as best as we can. So I always think, you know, if there is an issue, I say, okay, what is the issue and how I personally can contribute to that? For example, in the middle of this crisis, when I think about, you know, immediately, the immediate thing is like, oh my God, the hospitals, they don't have enough beds, they don't have enough masks, they don't have enough. I said, well, that's an issue. I said, am I going to complain about it? I said, well, everybody's complaining. I said, well, what can I do? I have lots of friends who are in the health industry. And I said, you have masks? He said, no. So I asked somebody, lend me your sewing machine, and there I am. And I said, but how are you involved in solving the problem? So in the school districts, I know you have changed, and I think it was through one of your Monday wonderful webinars, Dr. Matias, that one of the people who was sharing the things that they were doing in their district, he mentioned, you know, we have moved from academics to social servicing. And I will go further up, is social servicing and really emotional learning, because what's happening in our homes is drastic. So we need to address those problems. But then on a personal level, I want you to put the hat as a leader and say, are you part of the solution or are you part of the problem? What are your leadership skills? What is leadership? It's really, our leadership is the one that persuades others to follow us in the ideas and things that we need to get done. So right now that we're changing everything, and I said, who's following us? Who's listening to us? Who trusts us? Who are the ones who are going to be there for us when we really need to get things changed? So thinking about, what is your level of influence as a leader, as a superintendent, as a principal, as a teacher, as a CEO of a company, as a vice president, as a business owner? You know, what kind of influence you have in others? Because in this, we need to be together. None of us can fix what's happening in this crisis by ourselves. So what is your level of influence? Who are your contacts? Who trusts you? Who's going to follow you? And in the school district, you might be thinking, oh, it might be all the other administrators. And I said, you know, start from the bottom. Who's going to support you? Where are those students? Where are those parents? Who are those who are out there really trusting you with their children's life, and really hoping that you step up in those leadership skills? It is important that, I don't know how many of you have read this book, but if you're looking for a good leadership read, Leadership on the Line, Staying Alive Through Dangers of Leading, is by two professors at Harvard, Ronald Heifetz and Marty Linsky. They have a wonderful book that talks about specifically those issues on leadership. But they specifically mention that being a leader is risky, but making the lives of people better, leadership provides a meaning for life and creates a purpose. Because sometimes you go to bed and you say, oh my God, I say, how did I get into this? And I said, I have to tell you, all of you have been preparing for this. You have already have your education, you have your experience, you have your networks. I say, use them, because you are prepared. Although you were not really looking forward to having this crisis the way it has shaped up for all of us, I say, we have the skills, you have the strengths, you have the knowledge, the know-how to. It's just a matter of really taking the time to think it through and strategically plan on what's best for your communities. They mentioned also that exercising leadership that can get you into a lot of trouble. And today, as we talk about different ways of leading, especially during crisis, sometimes your ideas or your strategic thinking of doing something differently could get you into trouble because people don't see it. But part of that leadership is to visualize it for yourself and make sure that other ones also see your ideas clearly so they can support you. And they always mention perspiration is a given in leadership. And I always mention that one because, yeah, we sweat it out, especially when we're trying to do new things. When they say, oh, there's no budget. Oh, we don't have the staffing. There's always people saying, no, no, no. And I said, I always like to get those people off my plate and get all the ones that are actually ready to do something new and help me get it done. But perspiration is one of those because some new ideas are not always popular. But leading within a crisis requires you to get on the balcony. That's also an image that I have always used from this book too. And they actually talk about a dancing floor. And they said, well, when you're in a dancing floor and perhaps you're dancing, you see the couple on the side, you see the couple in front of you, you see the people around you, and you're dancing, so you're kind of in the same ways together. But they mentioned that in leadership, we need to get into the balcony. And what they meant is that instead of staying in the dancing floor, you need to pull yourself out and get into the balcony. What does that mean? You need to pull yourself from the crisis. You need to pull yourself on what the issue is and have some time for reflection. And to me, is even getting on the balcony, or I call it also consulting it with my pillow, because I usually, when I'm conflicting with a decision and I say, wow, it's a tough decision to make, I said, I'm going to consult it with my pillow, meaning that I'm going to sleep on it. I'm going to be rested. And the next morning, and it never fails, the next morning, bingo, is right there for me. I have no hesitation on doing it because I had time to reflect and I had time to separate myself from the issue. And getting into the balcony means is pulling yourself out and say, any decision that you make as a superintendent, as a trustee, as a board member, as a parent, as a business owner, it's going to affect a lot of people. And just by pulling yourself into the balcony and understanding that leadership is a privilege, leadership has responsibilities, and it is you who's going to make those tough decisions. And only by pulling yourself out and reflecting on how your actions are going to affect others will help you be clear in what your actions will be. And leadership is not about you. Leadership is about service to others. Really, when you are looking after others, why do I want to lead? It's not about having the title of a superintendent, of principal, of CEO. It's about what power do you have there to help others achieve their goals. So for me, when I think about leadership, it's always about servant leadership. Of course, we need to be directive. We need to have many skills to be leaders. But my own purpose of leadership is servant leadership, to be able to service others because my leadership will help others achieve their goals. So servicing others, your employees, your customers, your community is your #1 priority. So keep that in mind. What kind of leadership are you? And I wanted to ask you to get a piece of paper really quick or a pen and think of a leader that you admire, someone that you always say, oh, I love this person. I just love listening to them and I follow what they do and I trust them. Maybe it's your mentor, your mentee, who knows? But think of that person and give me 5 qualities, and maybe you can use a chat. What are some of the qualities that you that you look into someone with leadership? What are the qualities of that person that you admire? So if you want to write them in the chat or write them in a piece of paper, let's do something really quick, interactive here. Think of a person, a leader that you admire the most, and what are the qualities that you look in, or what are the qualities that you admire that she or he has? Anybody typing in? I don't see anybody typing. Is anybody there? I know there are 35 of you there. Okay, well, we get some. I actually dropped some because, of course, I asked that question in probably all of my leadership workshops. But what are some of the leadership qualities that we look in leadership? And I want you to think of yourself as a leader. Are you visionary? People look for visionary people. And #2, the trusting issue, especially in times, hard times like right now. And so do I trust this person, or what What are they saying? What are they actually factoring in for the future? Are they doing the best for my children? Are they actually helping me if I'm a parent, or if I'm a student, or if I'm a community member? So those are qualities that we look into. We look at self-awareness and confidence, commitment to others, and humility. I mean, we see it on TV every day, you know, leaders who are humble enough to say, I don't know, but I will find out. And I said, and that this is new, and we're trying something that has never been tried before, but we're trying it. So even if you don't know the answer, people will tend, if they trust you, they will follow you. That's part of your influence. Good communication and charisma is imperative, because if you can't persuade them, it is impossible to lead. And be motivational, especially when you're trying to do something new. And lead by example, absolutely, and responsible, that whatever your decision that you make while you're in that balcony reflecting, that is a responsible decision. And the last one is courageous, because especially in times of crisis, it will take time for all of us as leaders to create new opportunities within this crisis. And some people might think you're crazy. And I said, but no, you're not crazy. You're actually using your skills, your strength. I was thinking of someone who, one of the, and the superintendents here, I'm actually here in Florida, and some of the things that they were creating to feed the families. As you know, that many of our children, the one and only meal, or 1 or 2 meals of the day, are at school. You close the schools, what does that mean? And some parents who have lost their jobs. I said, so a lot of the school districts here have pulled together with the restaurants. The restaurants were also closed. They have all this food, they have all the equipment, and also the know-how of doing meals. And so they have combined forces with the grocers, who actually also have, you know, the apples and the bananas and all the groceries that were going to go to waste because of all of these closings. So you put together, and that's part of the partnerships that we're going to be talking about, how you could partner with the local businesses, who has excess of what and who needs what, and how you can actually combine those. And that's part of that courageous leadership. Maybe you've never done it before, but this is the opportunity for you to do so. And what kind of a leader are you? I ask you for those 5 qualities that you admire a leader. So which qualities do you have? Are you courageous? Are you trustworthy? Are you visionary? Because people will follow you if you have all of those. The other question that I always ask, do people love to work with you, or do they have to work with you? And there's a big difference, because if you are working with people that love working with you, they will go that extra mile, because they admire you, they respect you, and they trust you, and they will go with you anywhere you go. I said, but if they have to, it's like they come to work not with the best attitude. And I said, so you need to check, you know, how is your leadership, and how do other people around you see you? And in every crisis, there's an opportunity. So let's talk about some basic things that are happening today. With the pandemic, it has affected us in our very basic needs. Most of you know the Maslow hierarchy of needs. And I said, oh my God, you know, every time I look at one more issue happening in the community, it's all about basic needs. Let's start with the physiological, the air. Well, the virus is in the air. And I said, so are we safe to breathe? And if we don't breathe, we die? And I said, that's how come we have lost more than 58,000 people in this country. I said, but it's about shelter. How many people don't have jobs, and now they're starting to lose their homes because they can't pay that mortgage? Those are basic things that we need. Safety and security, the personal security, employment, resources, your health, your property, all of those are up in the air for most people in the United States. Love and belonging, our friendships, our family, the sense of connection, you know, having this cabin fever that you haven't gone out in 6 or 7 weeks. And for us Latinos, it's worse, because I mean, we love to hug and kiss and connect in a very real way. And this whole pandemic has really put a stop in all of that. And I said, but that is part of the hierarchy of needs. We need that connectivity. For those who have lost friends and family to the pandemic, my condolences. But just knowing that somebody, a loved one is dying and you can't visit them, it must be the most horrendous thing that you can go through. But that's part of that loving and belonging that it's been taken away from us. The self-esteem, the respect, when you think about all of the heads of the household who have been fired or displaced because the companies have closed and they don't have a job. That's part of, if I'm the breadwinner of a home, I'm very frustrated because I can't provide for my family. So keep that in your mind when you make decisions as a leader, because the basic needs of nuestra gente are right here, and they're all basic needs that are being really shaken up for us. So what's a human response to change? To some people, changes are great. They get excited and motivated. And for other ones, it's, oh, they feel threatened. I don't like this. I'm not comfortable with this. I get very anxious. I don't know what the answer is. And I've been hearing all of them all throughout my conversations with people. Because some of them say, hey, this is a perfect opportunity to try something new. And they're very cheery and happy. And other ones say, I'm scared to death. I'm not going out. I'm not letting my kids go out. I'm frustrated. All of those things. So make sure that you connect. And this one is the curve. I know that we've been looking at different curves on the news, and it's all about leveling the curve. But this is the human response to change. And when we're talking about leadership in crisis, this could be very beneficial for you to think about as you process the decision making as a leader, because you have the emotional response. First, as I'm in shock. When we first thought of this, it's oh, that's a faraway disease in China, has nothing to do with, oh, it was Italy, oh, that's far enough. And all of a sudden it comes here, and it's like, no, it's not gonna. So first you're in shock, then you're in denial. Oh no, that's impossible. I'm sure it's not gonna be as bad here. Then you get angry because they've closed. They've closed to me. I'm angry because they've cut my travel. And I said, I like being with you. I certainly am enjoying having this conversation with you, but I don't see you. I can't feel you. I can't ask you questions. So this social distancing is killing me because I like to be somewhere. I could be in New York, in California, in Texas, in Illinois. And all of a sudden it's like, no, are you going to stay home? I'm like, what? So I'm angry about that. I'm angry about not being able to comfort so many people who are hurting. We're doing a lot of family engagement in California and with the San Bernardino School District, and just hearing the parents, the desperation that they're going through. And I said, it makes you angry because you just feel like you don't have the power to assist at this moment. And then you start blaming, who to blame for. And I said, and then later on you start, well, if we're in this, let me bargain a few things. Maybe if they fire me, let's tell them, hey, I come back for part-time, or can I do this, or I can do that. So you start bargaining on the situation. The apathy is the bottom. It's like, I don't care anymore. I don't want to think about this this crisis anymore. And the next step is finally when you say, I have to accept it. There's not much that we can do. This is an opportunity to accept it, and let's reshape it, reface it, think about it in a different way. And then you start exploring possibilities. And so to me, this webinar, this is like the 5th different program that I try on being able to speak, but not with the audience, but the audience is on the other side. And I said, but learning, that it's a learning, I'm exploring the possibilities. And it's exciting because it's new for me. At the same time, I still much prefer being next to you and being able to have a conversation. And I hope we'll have a few minutes to have that conversation. And then understanding, this is our new normal. This is the understanding that we need. And how do you integrate your new normal with your real life and then be able to sustain what you want to? So think about this curve and use it as you talk to your staff. The interesting thing about this curve is that people will either stay in the shock, on the denial, or in the apathy at a different time. Some of us can move very quickly into sustainability, and other ones will stay into the anger or the shock or the blame for a longer period of time. So check your staff, check yourself, check your family, because you know our families are as important as anybody else's family. But where's everybody in this human response to change? Because change is not easy. Our teenagers who are upset that they can't be hanging out with their friends. How could that be possible? Or a 3-year-old who the mother tells me, and said, well, he was looking out the window and saying, virus, virus, vete, vete. He wanted the virus to go. Virus, please go. And I say, he doesn't understand. He doesn't see the virus, but he knows that he wants to be outside. And mom is not taking men outside because she's telling him the virus is out there. So he's actually asking her to please go. So I wanted to actually help you go through an empowering empowerment session, or think about things differently when you're looking at what is your vision for your school district? What is your vision for your community? What is the vision for you and your family? And of course, this is an entire whole workshop, but I said, I'm going to give you just a taste of it, and you can just get into that balcony and make sure that you actually exercise it. But the empowerment model that I actually learned from David Gershan and Gail Straw many years ago, but I have used it because it has been very useful for me as a leader, as an individual, as a community activist, as a mother, as an individual, as a business owner. I always look at it and say, well, how will I take care of this? And say, well, first, shift from problem solving to possibilities and vision creating. What do they mean by that? They actually relate it to a gardener. They think of a gardening. When you're a gardener and you want to have a beautiful garden, you make sure that you have the seeds, you have a fertile soil, and you have fertilizer, and you have water, and you have all of those things. But some people are so focused on the weeds, the las malas hierbas, they're so focused on that they forgot to even put the seeds or water the plants. So what kind of a garden do you have? Because you were focused on the negative rather than on the positive. It was the malas hierbas. I was just focused on that I forgot to water what I wanted, which is your new vision, the possibilities. So it's from problem solving to vision creating. For example, when the virus first came, which is, when they started doing all the closings, was at the beginning of March. And first you're in shock, and of course, how are you going to solve it? They say, oh, it's only 2 weeks. Well, everybody said, okay, 2 weeks. Then 2 weeks became 4 weeks, and then 5 weeks, and then 6 weeks. And all of a sudden, you have issues. You know, the parents don't have a job, the kids don't have schooling. You need to prepare for long distance learning. You need to do teleconferencing. You need to deal with budgets. You need to do all of these things, and you weren't expecting or planning to do that. So obviously you jump into, okay, how are we going to solve this? But I think at this moment, after 6 weeks of social distancing and closing of the schools, you should be thinking, well, this is the opportunity where we have all the schools closed. This is the opportunity to jump into that, really helping in that technology gap. Because when I think about the pandemic has really highlighted how many gaps do we have in our own communities. When I think about the gaps of healthcare, it's in our communities. There's big gaps. In economics, you know, who's losing jobs? It's our community. When I think about education and technology, yeah, of course, we're going to give them tablets. We're going to give them computers. Well, you should have given those years ago. And so why do we have to wait for a pandemic for a school district to react and give the computers that they should have given the students all along? But then some of them said, we'll give them the computers, but in some of our homes, there's no internet. And I said, so how do you create, how do you give a computer that they won't be able to use the internet and connect? And I'll give some examples in the possibilities of how you create opportunities. And we were working with Coachella in California, the district of Coachella, and the superintendent wanted to give computers and laptops to all the kids, so he did. He was able to get a grant, and then they realized that, oops, but they don't have internet, so they can't do the homework that they were supposed to do. And so what he did, he put modems in the school buses. And so every time after school, and they deliver all the kids after 3:30, 4 o'clock, they park the buses near the trailer camps or in some of the immigrant camps. And they put the buses around, and the modems were on top of the buses. So all of a sudden, not only do you see the kids around the bus, but the parents were around the bus because everybody was looking for connectivity. But I also saw one of your participants in one of your calls was talking about they're building a tower. He said, why do we have to wait for a pandemic to build a tower? If that was in your vision, you should have just already planned it. But to me, this is the opportunity. You have the time, look for the funding, look for the possibilities of this change to be a positive change, and then go ahead and do it, because you have been ready for this leadership position all along. So remember to focus on the garden, focus on the seeds and not the weeds. So I want to do a very quick exercise. It's about visioning. And I need you to close your eyes just for 2 seconds. I know some of you are like, oh, I don't want to do that. And I said, but I want you to think about it. So I want you to think, close your eyes real quick. And I want you to close your eyes and think about, what do I want for my school district? What do I want for my community? What do I want for my family? And don't put any bad weeds. Don't put any obstacles, because we always tend to say, oh, I don't have enough money. I don't have the time. I don't have the experience. Don't put any of those. Just close your eyes and think, oh, my school district could be. And imagine it, visualize it. Put the people in that vision. Who's there? Who's there with you? Are you inside? Are you outside? What is it that you see? And are you always visioning as a big dream that you can be wild? Don't put any obstacles. Just think big. What is the vision for my school district? What is the vision for my life? What do I want? I'm in this balcony giving it real thought about what can I do? What are the partnerships that I'm building with this new opportunity that it although came with that to us as a crisis, it's actually an opportunity. How would that look like? And visualize it with as many details as you can. Who's there? Where did you see the children? Where are the buildings? What are you doing? What is your job in this new vision? Because things will be different and are different than they were 6 weeks ago, and they will continue to see and feel different. Okay, if I was close to you, or if we had more time, I will ask you, what did you see? But this is the homework for you. You will, I hope that when we finish our call today, that you will draw whatever came to mind, or make some notes. I saw this or I saw that, because as a good leader, you should visualize what you want out of your district, out of your life, out of your community, and be able to say, okay, that's the vision that I have. And if you can visualize it, I can guarantee you can achieve it. And that's when you start the strategic plan. That's when you start some goals, short-term goals and long-term goals, financial goals. How are we going to do this? And someone who has worked in so many multicultural programs at a national, local, and international level, I said, I never start with my buts. I don't have money, or we don't have the resources, or we don't have the staff. And what is it that we want to do? From the vision is then you start working it from the bottom down. So visualize, get into that balcony, make sure that you realize that you do have the power. You are leaders. You have been preparing for this crisis all your life. You just don't know it. I said, but I'm telling you that you do. And then finally, how do we build partnerships in times of crisis? This is a moment that we need to be focusing on very basic things, you know, shelter, jobs, health, safety. And it's moving from academics to social servicing, social and emotional. You know, the statistics of domestic violence are over 300% more during this stay at home. Unfortunately, our families are suffering, our children are suffering, and we need to do something about it, because staying at home for some people have been another crisis, not only the coronavirus, but a family crisis. So we need to deal with that. And in the schools, unfortunately, you will have to be dealing with that. And of course, there are new services, the teletherapy, a lot of personal connections. So develop those partnerships with the nonprofits and make sure that you are together with them for them to provide those services. Develop partnership with the private sector. To me, that's my biggest, I guess, success as an organizer myself. And I said, you know, it's always the budgets are always an issue. I said, well, partner with the private sector. I used to work in Western Illinois University and Blackhawk College in Moline, Illinois. And I said, but John Deere, the headquarters were there. We also have a lot of technology companies and steel companies. And I said, how can we use the resources that we had in our own community to provide partnerships? It could be financial partnerships, it could be internship partnerships, it could be possibilities of creating. I also ran a nonprofit, and I was always looking for funding. And I remember going to one of our insurance companies that was a funder, and I said, you know what, I need additional funding. And I said, what is your issue? What are you trying to get? I said, oh, we want to hire more Latinas as insurance agents. And I said, fantastic, I got them. I was leading a national Latina leadership program, the National Hispana Leadership Institute. And I said, so I have the Latinas and you have an issue to solve. And I said, and I want to train more Latinas in leadership skills. And I said, so why don't we partner? And I said, I want to provide that leadership training. So I want to create leadership programs and you can help me with your funding. And as I create the programs, you come in and talk to them about your opportunities. I am not a recruiter, but I do have the Latinas. So why don't we work together, partner together? It was one of the most successful partnerships that we did because they continue to grow. And yes, more Latinas became agents, insurance agents of that company, but it also provided me to train lots more all throughout the country. So think about what is your vision? What is the ultimate goal you want to get? And partner with the people in your private sector to be able to achieve those. Develop a relationship with employers in your area. Work closely with the nonprofits. Nonprofits are really doing an enormous job as we speak, and I'm sure you're facing that in Texas and all throughout Texas. Use your strength to lead. Use your contacts. I said, get on that phone and start calling. Somebody has excess of something that you could be using. They could be helping you negotiate other deals. So make sure that you use your leadership skills, your strength, and your contacts to build new partnerships. Create new possibilities. Teletherapy, distance learning, all of those things are opportunities to partner with whoever has those resources. Is it in the health industry? Then you need to deal with and build partnerships in the health industry. If it's about opportunities, jobs, and say, well, how are we going to help our families get back on track? And of course, involve the students and the parents. One of the things that I admire most about MASBA and your conference was precisely that you brought the students to the conference, and that brought me such a joy. It's a reminder that all the work that you do and that we do is to help and assist others, is to help the students, and to have them present was phenomenal. And finally, I wanted to remind you that leadership is a privilege. It's a position that you carry. It's not about your title. It's not about how much money you made. It's about you carry the responsibility to make decisions for the greater good. So every time that you make that decision as a leader, please, very conscientious on how is that going to affect everybody else. And use your wealth, your fame, your credibility, your powers as a means to open doors to others. Make sure you're a dream maker and not a gatekeeper. And I wanted to end with this beautiful video, and I'll just play a little short part of it, but some of you might have seen it. Is Alicia Keys. She was in CNN not too long ago and sang the song Good Job. So I'll play it for you. Hope you can see it. I'm gonna play it forward a little bit. Keep that energy I know. When I feel like the end of the road, okay, they're telling me that you can't hear Alicia Keys. Sorry to that you can't hear it, but look it up, Alicia Keys, Good Job. And actually, the song itself, it is for you. Is to remind you that that we're in this together, that you're doing a good job, that the world needs you now. We need to be sharper and ready, more ready than ever. But I remind you that you are already ready. We just need to work it out. And remember that we are in this together. And look up the video because it's truly an inspiration. But remember, you're doing a good job. You have been preparing for this your whole life. People will follow you if they trust you. You're the engine that makes things move. And people are looking for hope. They're looking for inspiration. And they're looking for security. And you can be providing all of those as superintendents, as principals, as teachers, as community activists, as business owners. Make sure that you stay calm, stay the course. And I wanted to share because this is something that I always think about. I always, as a woman of faith, and say, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change. There's nothing that we can do with this enemy that we don't even see, the virus. Have the courage to think and change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Remember that we're in this together. I hope this has been helpful to you, and please send me some comments on the chat. So we'll see what else we can help you with. But thank you very much. You can reach me at marisa@empowermentworks.com. And I look forward to chatting with you in the near future. Thank you.
Tremendous, Marisa, gracias, pero muchísimas gracias. On behalf of all of us here at MASBA and all who are listening today and all who will later be accessing this file, we just want to say thank you for sharing your wisdom and your experiences with us. I love so many of the things that you talked about. You know, this crisis is indeed a time of change. So I so greatly appreciated your model, your paradigm on the human response to change, because
Yes.
so many of us right now are dealing with exactly that. You know, how do we transition from the world that we used to know to now this new normal? So thank you for helping to equip us and also for that spirit of optimism, Marisa. I tend to be a person as well who tends to look at the seeds instead of the weeds, right?
We see
So
the garden before it even grows.
there you go. There's something about that vision. So really appreciate your willingness to help lead us in a reflection on what it is that we as leaders might be able to do during the craziness that is this pandemic. Together, we'll get through this. La unión hace la fuerza. We'll get
There
through
you
this
go.
definitely. But in the meantime, we really, really appreciate you, Marisa. We want to
Thank
simply
you.
get to say Marisa has her information there. Marisa at empowermentworks.com. She's speaking at districts all over the nation. So please don't be bashful about looking her up at empowermentworks.com or emailing her at marisa@empowermentworks.com. Any concluding words, Marisa?
Nothing, persistence, performance, y mucho corazón. Those are always my ending words. Persistence, because we need to continue trying the good, the bad, and the old, but we need to keep trying, create new things. This is the right opportunity. So persistence is one. Performance, obviously, always do your best. Y con mucho corazón. Everything that you do should be coming from your heart. Again, thank you to you, Dr. Matias, to Masba, to all the Board of Trustees, all the board members, all the superintendents who have joined us. Thank you so much for joining me, and I look forward to seeing all of you hopefully in person very soon. And if not, hey, this is the best way for staff development, is the best way for inspirational opportunities. Let us know how we can help you. Thank you. Un abrazo para todos.
Thank you, Marisa. What a delight to have you here with us today. For those who are listening, our next webinar will be on Monday at noon. That's Monday, May the 4th. We'll have a pandemic policy perspective, what educational leaders should know, with panelists Dr. Carrie Sampson of Arizona State University and Dr. Julian Vasquez Heilig of the University of Kentucky College of Education. That's Monday, May the 4th at noon. And then next Wednesday, April the 6th, we'll have a conversation with Laura Subin Yeager. Laura is with Texas Educators Vote, and her theme next Wednesday, May the 6th at noon, will be Texas Educators Vote, creating a culture of voting in Texas public schools. Thank you all for joining us today. Have a great day.
Thank you. Thank you.